Listen here, sweetheart. I don't know what ghetto you crawled out of, but on my flight, you follow my rules. Crack. Brittany Mackenzie's palm struck across Dr. Zara Washington's face with a sound that silenced the entire cabin. The tablet crashed from Zara's hands. Her reading glasses flew off, skittering under seat 13A. Gasps echoed through the plane. Brittany towered over her victim, finger jabbing downward. That's what happens when you people don't listen the first time. Scattered papers floated to the floor, executive documents marked Meridian Airlines Board Meeting Confidential. A gold badge glinted among the debris, clearly corporate-level identification. Zara touched her stinging cheek, completely calm. Her voice carried through the shocked silence. Thank you, Brittany. You just made this very simple. Have you ever been so utterly humiliated that your first instinct was revenge, but you chose something far more devastating instead? This happened exactly 10 minutes ago on Flight 447 to Atlanta. Let me tell you what led to that slap. 30 minutes earlier, Dr. Zara Washington stepped onto her own aircraft, Meridian Airlines Flight 447, dressed in faded jeans and a simple hoodie. As CEO, she conducted monthly mystery passenger evaluations, experiencing her airline through customers' eyes. Today's test would cost more than she ever imagined. Her boarding pass showed seat 2A first class, but she'd requested 14C in coach. Real-life stories like these revealed more about company culture than any executive report. Flight attendant Brittany Mackenzie approached with practiced authority. At 28, she'd worked for Meridian 3 years, building a reputation for maintaining order that supervisors praised, but passengers endured. Excuse me, your ticket says 2A, but you're sitting in 14C. Trying to upgrade yourself without paying? Zara looked up from her tablet, displaying quarterly reports she'd been reviewing. I requested this seat change. My boarding pass is right here. Honey, I've seen every scam, Brittany's voice carried across nearby rows. You people always try to game the system somehow. The businessman in 13A, Richard Hawthorne, nodded approvingly. He'd noticed Zara's appearance when she boarded torn sneakers, discount hoodie, braided hair that screamed urban. Finally, someone was keeping these people in line. Ma'am, I have my confirmation right here. Zara reached for her phone to show the seat change request. Brittany snatched the device away. Passengers like you can't afford to replace airline property when you break it. She examined Zara's clothing with obvious disdain. Those worn sneakers and that hoodie tell me everything I need to know about your situation. In row 15B, college student Keisha Williams started live streaming on TikTok. Y'all, watch this flight attendant profile this black woman. This is crazy. Her viewer count climbed 50, 85, 127. Zara remained composed. I understand there's confusion, but if you check my boarding pass... Stop lying! Brittany's voice rose sharply. I know troublemakers when I see them. You're disrupting my entire flight with this ghetto drama. The elderly woman in 16D, Margaret Foster, whispered to her husband, In my day, people knew their place. She'd watched the interaction with growing satisfaction, remembering when such scenes ended differently. But passenger Robert Carter in 12A felt uncomfortable. As a federal prosecutor, he recognized discrimination when he saw it. He quietly activated his phone's camera, capturing Brittany's escalating aggression. Keisha's live stream exploded with comments. This is racial profiling. Sue the airline. Where's the manager? Her viewer count hit 200, then 300. Brittany grabbed Zara's tablet next. Company property stays with the crew until landing. You clearly don't understand how airlines work. The device displayed Q3 Executive Summary Confidential before Brittany closed it, missing the significance entirely. She also overlooked Zara's boarding pass corner showing Diamond Elite Lifetime status and the subtle Harvard Business School logo on her hoodie. Ma'am, I need that tablet for work. Zara's voice stayed level, professional. Work. Brittany laughed loudly. What work? Let me guess. Social media? Hair braiding? Maybe some MLM scheme? Richard Hawthorne chuckled. Several passengers turned to stare. The cabin's atmosphere grew tense as sides formed, those enjoying the spectacle, and others growing uncomfortable with the obvious bias. Zara reached for her phone to document the harassment. "I have the right to—" "Put that phone away!" Brittany screamed. "You people always want to record everything instead of following simple instructions." Keisha's live stream chat erupted. "This is insane! Pure racism! Record everything!" Her viewers climbed past 500. The confrontation reached its breaking point when Zara tried once more to show her legitimate documentation. Brittany had moved beyond professional conduct into personal territory, her prejudices fully exposed. "I told you to stop lying. Maybe this will teach you some respect." The slap came fast and hard, Brittany's palm connecting with Zara's cheek in a sharp crack that echoed through the cabin. Complete silence followed. Someone's drink hit the floor. A child started crying. Keisha's phone captured everything. Her viewer count jumped to 1,200 instantly as comments flooded the screen. "Did she just hit her? Assault! Call police! That's what you get for being disrespectful." Brittany's justification rang hollow in the stunned cabin. "Maybe next time you'll listen when the crew gives instructions." Zara's scattered papers included documents that would have revealed everything: executive summaries, board meeting agendas, quarterly reports marked with CEO approval signatures. Her cheap phone case actually contained 2 devices, her personal iPhone and a corporate-issued executive communicator. But Brittany saw none of it. She saw only what her prejudices allowed: a black woman in casual clothes who didn't belong in her cabin. "I want everyone to remember exactly what just happened here," Zara said quietly, touching her reddening cheek. "Mind your own business," Brittany snapped at Robert Carter, who'd stood up in protest. "She got exactly what she deserved." But the damage was spreading beyond the cabin. Keisha's video had been shared 47 times in 3 minutes. #Meridian Airlines. Assault started trending as secondary recordings uploaded from multiple angles. The clock started ticking from that moment. Brittany McKenzie had exactly 10 minutes before her world imploded completely. She'd just assaulted her own boss, and 200 people had watched it happen live. As touching stories go, this one would end with justice. But first, it would get much worse. Timeline: 8 minutes until landing. 8 minutes until Brittany's career ends. Senior flight attendant Derek Williams rushed down the aisle, drawn by passenger murmurs and the unmistakable tension radiating from row 14. At 42, he'd seen every type of in-flight incident during his 15 years with Meridian, but the eerie silence told him this was different. "What's happening here?" Derek's trained eyes swept the scene-scattered papers, a red handprint on Zara's cheek, multiple phones pointed in their direction like weapons. Brittany straightened defensively, her confidence returning with backup present. "This passenger was being disruptive and threatening crew safety. I had to maintain order and protect other passengers." "Threatening?" Robert Carter stood up, his prosecutor instincts fully engaged. "She hit a passenger, Derek. I saw the whole thing. This woman never raised her voice or made any aggressive moves." Derek studied Zara's face, noting the visible mark, her unnaturally calm demeanor, the way she was methodically organizing papers as if this was a business meeting. Something felt off about the entire situation. "Brittany, did you physically strike a passenger?" "She was reaching for her phone after I explicitly told her not to. She was being aggressive and non-compliant. I had to stop her before she escalated the situation further. You know how these people can get." Keisha's live stream had exploded to 15,000 viewers. Her TikTok comments moved too fast to read. "Fire her now! Lawsuit incoming! This is assault! Racism caught on camera!" She'd started a second stream on Instagram, capturing different angles as more passengers joined the recording. The social media wildfire was spreading beyond the plane. Marcus Thompson in 18C posted to Twitter, "Just witnessed assault on Meridian Air flight. Flight attendant slapped black passenger for no reason. Within minutes, it had 200 retweets and climbing. In first class, purser Janet Morrison received an emergency call from ground control. Her face paled as she listened to the report. Flight 447, we're getting multiple reports of a serious passenger incident. Please confirm your current status immediately. Janet grabbed the intercom, unaware of the full severity. Minor delay in cabin service due to passenger compliance issues. Stand by for updates. But passengers throughout the plane were uploading videos faster than the crew could contain. The incident was escaping their control in real time. Sarah Kim in 20D live-streamed on Facebook. Discrimination and assault happening right now on Meridian Airlines. Her co-workers were already sharing the video. The businessman Richard Hawthorne sensed the shifting mood around him. His earlier approval of Brittany's actions was becoming a serious liability as cameras turned toward anyone who'd supported the discrimination. He ducked lower in his seat, suddenly fascinated by his Sky Mall magazine. Margaret Foster whispered nervously to her husband, "Maybe we should stay out of this, Harold. This is getting too big." Derek tried his standard de-escalation protocol. "Ma'am, I sincerely apologize for any confusion or miscommunication. We'll sort this out properly once we reach the gate." Confusion? Zara's voice carried new authority that made Derek pause mid-sentence. "Your colleague committed assault. That's not confusion, that's a federal crime under USC Title 49, Section 46504. Her precise legal citation surprised everyone within earshot. Most passengers couldn't quote federal aviation law from memory. Derek felt something shift in the cabin's power dynamic, though he couldn't identify exactly what. 6 minutes to landing. Captain Michelle Torres's voice crackled over the intercom. "Flight attendants, we have airport security and federal agents waiting at gate B7. The control tower reports multiple social media incidents involving our crew on this aircraft." Brittany's confidence cracked visibly. "Federal agents? This is being completely blown out of proportion. It was just necessary to maintain cabin safety and order." But Zara had been making strategic phone calls on what appeared to be a second, more sophisticated device. Her first call was brief, coded. "Michael, code black. Flight 447, assault on CEO. Activate crisis protocol immediately. Full legal team." Derek caught fragments of the conversation. CEO? Crisis protocol? That couldn't be right. But Zara's second device, clearly a high-end corporate phone, suggested this passenger had resources and connections far beyond what Brittany had assumed. Keisha's viewers were connecting dots faster than the crew. Comments flooded in. "Why does she have 2 phones? Those look like confidential business documents. She's way too calm and professional. Harvard logo on her hoodie. Check that boarding pass, it looks like first class." The live stream chat was performing detective work in real time. "She's not just a passenger. Something big is coming. That flight attendant is about to be destroyed." 4 minutes to landing. Ground control patched through to Janet with increasing urgency. "Flight 447, we need an immediate detailed incident report. Multiple passengers reporting crew assault with racial motivation. The FBI and DOT have been officially notified." "FBI? DOT?" Janet's voice carried over the cabin intercom accidentally. Passengers throughout the plane heard the escalation clearly. The mood shifted from entertainment to serious legal consequences. Brittany turned pale, her bravado finally cracking. "FBI? For what exactly? I maintained proper order. She was being disruptive and threatening. Ask the other passengers." But when she looked around for support, the passengers who'd initially approved were now avoiding eye contact. Richard Hawthorne was pretending to sleep. Margaret Foster was studying her hands intently. Meanwhile, Zara was methodically gathering her scattered papers with the precision of someone accustomed to organizing important documents. Her movements were deliberate, calculated, and professional. She'd retrieved materials that Brittany had dismissed: quarterly reports, board meeting minutes, executive communications marked CEO Eyes Only. Derek noticed the paper's official headers and corporate seals. His airline training kicked in. He'd seen executive communications before during his brief stint in corporate liaison. These weren't passenger documents. These were the kind of materials that only senior leadership accessed. "Ma'am, could I please see your identification for our incident report?" Derek asked quietly, professional curiosity overriding protocol. Zara looked up from organizing her papers, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Of course, Derek. Though I suspect you'll find it rather illuminating." She reached into her leather bag, not for a driver's license, but for what appeared to be a corporate ID badge. The movement was deliberate, theatrical. Every passenger watched with anticipation. Keisha's camera zoomed in automatically. 2 minutes to landing. The cabin fell into tense silence as engines throttled back for final descent. 23 passengers had recorded some portion of the incident. #Meridian Airlines. Assault was trending in 6 cities. Local news stations were already preparing segments for the evening broadcast. Brittany made one final desperate attempt to control the narrative over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we experienced a minor disturbance with an unruly passenger who refused to follow crew instructions. The situation has been resolved according to federal aviation safety protocols." "Unruly?" Robert Carter's voice carried prosecutorial authority. "She assaulted a compliant passenger. We all witnessed unprovoked violence." Multiple passengers began speaking at once, their voices overlapping. "That's completely false. She hit her for absolutely no reason. This is pure discrimination. We have it all on video." Margaret Foster tried shrinking into her seat as passengers' anger focused on anyone who'd initially supported Brittany's actions. Zara stood slowly, papers organized in her hands like a boardroom presentation. Her movement commanded attention in ways that surprised everyone, including Derek. This wasn't how assault victims typically behaved. This was how executives took control of chaotic situations and prepared for decisive action. The plane touched down with a slight bump, engines dying as they rolled toward the gate. Timeline: 2 minutes to gate. Time for truth. The aircraft rolled slowly toward gate B7, its engines winding down with mechanical precision. Outside the windows, passengers could see airport security vehicles, their red and blue lights creating an ominous light show on the tarmac. FBI agents in dark suits stood waiting beside DOT investigators carrying official briefcases. But inside the cabin, all attention focused on the woman in seat 14C who was about to change everything. Zara stood with fluid grace, her scattered papers now organized like a corporate presentation. The red mark on her cheek had darkened into a clear handprint, creating stark evidence against her calm, professional demeanor. Every phone in the cabin pointed toward her as she moved to the front with the confidence of someone accustomed to commanding boardrooms filled with powerful executives. "Ladies and gentlemen," her voice carried the unmistakable authority of someone who addressed shareholders and board members regularly, "I want to thank you all for documenting what happened here today. Your videos will be absolutely crucial in the federal investigation that follows this incident." Keisha's live stream hit 35,000 viewers, comments flowing like a digital waterfall. "She sounds completely different. That's not how assault victims talk. Something massive is about to happen. This lady has serious power." Brittany sensed the fundamental shift in cabin dynamics but couldn't identify the source. "Ma'am, please return to your seat immediately. Federal regulations require passengers to remain seated until we reach the gate." "Oh, but I think I'll stand right here, Brittany." Zara's tone carried new steel that made several passengers straighten unconsciously. "You asked what ghetto I crawled out of. Let me answer that question with complete accuracy." Derek felt his stomach drop as her entire demeanor transformed before their eyes. "I crawled out of Harvard Business School, where I graduated summa cum laude with a master's in corporate strategy and aviation management. Before that, I earned my PhD in organizational psychology from Stanford. I then worked my way up through 20 years of aviation management, starting as a gate agent and climbing every single rung of this industry's ladder. Derek felt the blood drain from his face. Harvard Business School, Stanford PhD, 20 years in aviation management. None of this fits Brittany's narrative of a disruptive passenger. The first revelation. Zara reached into her leather bag. Not for a driver's license, but for a sophisticated executive identification badge with multiple security clearances and holographic verification strips. She held it high enough for every camera to capture the details clearly, rotating it so the security features caught the cabin lighting. Dr. Zara Washington, Chief Executive Officer, Meridian Airlines. Employee identification number 001, the founder's number, reserved for the person who controls this entire organization. The silence that followed was deafening. Derek's clipboard clattered to the floor with a sharp crack. Janet, watching from first class, gasped audibly over the intercom system she'd forgotten to deactivate. Richard Hawthorne's face drained of all color as he realized he'd been nodding approvingly while the CEO was being racially profiled and assaulted. But Brittany's world didn't just crack, it exploded into 1,000 irreparable pieces. That's completely impossible, she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. You can't be... You're not... This has to be fake. The CEO? Zara's voice remained calm, devastatingly professional. The woman whose signature appears on every employment contract in this company? The person who personally approved your salary increase of $2,400 last year? The individual who just watched you commit felony assault on federal property while 35,000 people live-streamed every second? Keisha's stream exploded with activity. She's the actual CEO! Oh my God! The flight attendant just slapped her own boss! The viewer count jumped to 50,000 as shares multiplied exponentially across every social media platform. The hidden truth emerges in detail. You see, Brittany, I conduct comprehensive mystery passenger evaluations on the third Tuesday of every month. It's called executive oversight, a practice I personally implemented after our customer discrimination complaints increased 34% last quarter, costing us $8.7 million in legal settlements. She pulled out a detailed report from her scattered papers. Today's route, Flight 447, was specifically chosen because passenger complaints on this route increased 67% in the past 6 months. I needed to understand why. Derek finally found his voice, though it cracked with stress. Dr. Washington, I had absolutely no idea. If I'd known who you were... If you'd known what, Derek? Her question cut through his excuse like a surgical blade. That I was the CEO? Would that have changed how any passenger should be treated? Should only executives receive basic human dignity and respect? The question hung in the air like an indictment of the entire aviation industry's culture. Robert Carter, the federal prosecutor, was frantically taking detailed notes on his phone. This wasn't just assault anymore. This was a masterclass in corporate culture analysis and systematic discrimination documentation. Legal precision unleashes full force. Zara pulled out her corporate phone and began reading with prosecutorial precision that would make federal attorneys envious. Brittany McKenzie, Employee Identification 4847, hired March 15, 2021. Current salary $38,400 annually. You have violated multiple federal laws. She counted off on her fingers. USC Title 49, Section 46504 assault aboard an aircraft, which carries a maximum penalty of 20 years imprisonment. USC Title 42, Section 1981 civil rights violations under federal law. Company policy violations include Section 14.2 regarding passenger treatment, 18.7 concerning racial discrimination, and 23.1 covering unauthorized use of physical force. She looked directly at the live stream cameras. All violations comprehensively documented on multiple video platforms with precise timestamps, GPS coordinates, and extensive witness testimony from federal prosecutors, business executives, and 47 passengers. The economic earthquake begins to devastate. Our stock opened this morning at $47.23 per share on the New York Stock Exchange. In the 14 minutes since your assault was live-streamed, it has dropped $4.18 per share. That represents $63.7 million in market capitalization lost because of your behavior. She consulted her corporate phone. Our customer service department has received 342 complaint calls in the past 12 minutes. #boycott. Meridian is trending in 17 cities. Our competitor airlines are already capitalizing on this incident in their marketing campaigns. Margaret Foster whispered urgently to her husband, "Harold, we own 500 shares of Meridian stock. This is costing us thousands of dollars." But Zara wasn't finished with the financial devastation report. Employee liability insurance doesn't cover criminal assault charges, Brittany. You're personally liable for corporate damages, estimated conservatively at $2.3 million and climbing every minute this video spreads. The phone calls that reshape corporate history. Zara speed-dialed her executive assistant with the efficiency of someone who'd managed crises involving hundreds of millions of dollars. "Sarah, activate Code Black protocol immediately. Emergency board meeting in 30 minutes. Send discrimination and assault protocols to our legal department with highest priority. Alert our crisis management team and prepare comprehensive statements for major media outlets." The second call went directly to her chief legal officer. "Patricia, it's Zara. I need federal assault charges filed against employee 4847 within the hour. We have multiple video evidence from different angles, witness testimony from a federal prosecutor, and clear documentation of premeditated discrimination. This transcends termination. This is criminal prosecution territory." Derek realized he was witnessing corporate crisis management at the highest level. This wasn't just about one flight attendant's poor judgment anymore. This was about the entire company's reputation, stock valuation, federal compliance, and potential congressional investigation. A third call went to corporate communications. "Michael, prepare for national media attention. CNN, Fox, NBC, and major airlines trade publications will be calling within the hour. Our response needs to demonstrate decisive leadership and zero tolerance for discrimination. The passengers choose their sides carefully." Robert Carter stood up with formal authority. "Dr. Washington, I'm Assistant Federal Prosecutor Robert Carter, Northern District of Georgia. I witnessed the entire incident from initial contact through assault. I'll be providing official testimony and coordinating with federal authorities to ensure full prosecution." The businessman Richard Hawthorne suddenly found his voice, though it trembled noticeably. "Dr. Washington, I want to formally apologize for any inappropriate reactions or comments. I clearly completely misunderstood the situation, and I'm ashamed of my behavior." But Zara's response was ice-cold, delivered with the precision of someone accustomed to corporate accountability. "Mr. Hawthorne, you didn't misunderstand anything. You approved of what you thought was a black woman being put in her place by authority. Your apology is noted in the record and rejected. Your true character was revealed when you thought there would be no consequences." Margaret Foster tried to disappear entirely into her seat, realizing her earlier supportive comments had been captured on multiple recordings that would likely appear in federal court proceedings. The social media avalanche becomes unstoppable. Keisha provided live commentary to her rapidly growing audience. "Y'all, this is the wildest thing I've ever witnessed. A flight attendant just slapped her own CEO and still doesn't fully understand what's about to happen to her life." Secondary videos were uploading across all platforms simultaneously. Twitter. Meridian CEO assault trending nationally with 47,000 tweets. Instagram. 23 different angles of the incident uploaded within minutes. TikTok. Remix videos with dramatic music already garnering millions of views. Facebook. Local and national news stations requesting exclusive interview permissions. LinkedIn. Corporate executives sharing the video as a case study in leadership crisis. The federal response accelerates rapidly. Captain Torres's voice came over the intercom with official gravity. Dr. Washington, this is Captain Torres. Airport security, FBI agents, DOT investigators, and federal marshals are prepared to board in 60 seconds. How would you like to coordinate the arrest procedure? Captain Torres, please coordinate with airport police for the immediate arrest of employee 4847 on federal assault charges. I'll be conducting the preliminary investigation interview personally with federal authorities to ensure complete documentation. Brittany finally grasped the complete magnitude of her situation as handcuffs appeared outside the aircraft windows. Dr. Washington, please. I didn't know who you were. I have 2 children. I need this job. I'll do anything to make this right. The final secret revealed in devastating detail. Brittany, there's one final thing you need to understand about the complete scope of what you've done. Zara's voice carried the finality of a federal judge delivering a life sentence. You didn't just slap a passenger. You didn't just slap your CEO. You slapped the person whose personal investment of $340 million saved this company from complete bankruptcy in 2019. I personally own 15% of every aircraft, every route, every seat in this entire fleet. The cabin fell completely silent, except for the sound of phones capturing every devastating word. Your entire lifetime earnings, every paycheck you've received in 3 years, every paycheck you ever will receive in any future employment, wouldn't cover the fuel costs for this single flight from New York to Atlanta. The moment of complete realization destroys everything. Derek was calculating desperately in his head. Employee 4847, 3 years of service, $38,400 annual salary, against a CEO who personally owned 15% of a $2.8 billion company and had saved it with her own money. Brittany had just assaulted someone worth more than $400 million, on camera, with federal witnesses, while 60,000 people watched live. Her children's college funds had just evaporated with one slap. Airport security stepped onto the aircraft with federal marshals behind them. Brittany McKenzie, you're under arrest for federal assault charges. The handcuffs clicked with a sound that 75,000 people heard through multiple live streams. Timeline. Landed. Gate B7. Federal authorities boarding. Corporate crisis mode fully activated. The aircraft door opened with a mechanical hiss, and the first person to step aboard wasn't airport security. It was FBI Special Agent Maria Rodriguez, badge prominently displayed, followed by DOT Inspector James Mitchell carrying official federal documentation. Behind them, 3 airport police officers waited with arrest equipment ready. Brittany stood frozen in the aisle, handcuffs glinting in the cabin lighting, while passengers continued filming every moment. Her world had collapsed in less than 15 minutes, but the full weight of consequences was just beginning to crush down on her. Dr. Washington, Agent Rodriguez approached with professional respect. I'm Special Agent Rodriguez, FBI. We received multiple reports of assault on federal property with potential civil rights violations. We understand you're the victim and the airline's CEO? That's correct, Agent Rodriguez. I have comprehensive documentation of the incident, including employee records, company policies violated, and preliminary damage assessments. Zara handed over a folder she'd organized during the final descent. This passenger, Mr. Carter, in seat 12A, is a federal prosecutor who witnessed everything. By the catastrophic numbers. While federal agents processed the scene, Zara's phone buzzed continuously with corporate updates that painted a devastating financial picture. Meridian Airlines stock, down $6.47 per share in 18 minutes. Market capitalization lost, $97.3 million, and climbing. Social media mentions, 127,000 negative posts across all platforms. Customer service calls, 891 complaints in 20 minutes. Booking cancellations, 234 flights canceled by passengers. Corporate travel contracts under review, 23 major companies suspending Meridian partnerships. Brittany McKenzie, employee ID 4847, Agent Rodriguez read from her official documentation, "You're being arrested for violation of USC Title 49, Section 46504 assault aboard an aircraft, USC Title 42, Section 1981 civil rights violations, and assault in the fourth degree under Georgia state law." The mobile corporate war room. Zara activated a conference call that transformed the aircraft cabin into a crisis management center. Her senior leadership team's voices filled the space through her phone's speaker. Chief Legal Officer Patricia Carter. "Zara, we have 17 news outlets requesting immediate statements. CNN wants you to live in 30 minutes. The NAACP has issued a statement demanding comprehensive investigation. Congressional offices are asking questions about federal aviation security." Chief HR Officer Michael Torres. "Employee hotline received 234 calls in 15 minutes. Staff are panicking about job security and company stability. Union representatives are demanding emergency meetings." Chief Financial Officer David Kim. "Stock price is in free fall. Trading volume has increased 340% in the past hour. We need decisive action to prevent complete market confidence collapse." Federal compliance nightmare unfolds. DOT, Inspector Mitchell consulted his federal guidelines. "Dr. Washington, this incident triggers automatic federal investigation of Meridian's entire crew training program. We'll need comprehensive records of all employee bias training, discrimination complaints from the past 5 years, and detailed analysis of company culture protocols." Inspector Mitchell, "We'll provide complete cooperation and transparency. However, I want to be clear about accountability. This incident reflects individual criminal behavior, not systemic company failure. We have robust policies that employee 4847 chose to violate." Agent Rodriguez continued processing Brittany's arrest. "Mrs. McKenzie, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in federal court. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you." Brittany's voice cracked. I want a lawyer. Please, this is all a misunderstanding. I was just doing my job." The corporate ultimatum delivered. With federal agents as witnesses, Zara addressed Brittany with devastating corporate precision. "Brittany McKenzie, effective immediately, you are terminated for cause from Meridian Airlines. Your actions have violated federal law, company policy, and basic human decency." She pulled out official termination documents prepared by her legal team. "You have exactly 2 choices, and these are your only options. Choice 1, accept immediate termination, sign a comprehensive confession acknowledging your criminal behavior, cooperate fully with federal prosecution, and never work in aviation again. Choice 2, face full federal prosecution without corporate cooperation, personal liability for all damages including the $97 million in stock losses, civil rights lawsuits, and industry-wide blacklisting that will prevent employment in any transportation sector." The financial devastation calculation. Chief Financial Officer Kim's voice carried over the phone with brutal precision. Current damage assessment as of 3:47 p.m. Stock price down $6.47 per share, represents $97.3 million in market cap loss. Customer service complaints have reached 1,100 calls. Estimated legal costs for federal defense, $2.3 million minimum. Insurance won't cover criminal assault, Brittany. You're personally liable for corporate damages. Your salary of $38,400 annually means you'd need to work 2,533 years without spending a single dollar to pay back just the stock losses. Margaret Foster whispered to her husband, "Harold, our retirement account just lost $8,000 because of her behavior." Federal authority intervention escalates. FBI agent Rodriguez addressed the broader situation. "Dr. Washington, this incident will require comprehensive federal investigation. We're treating this as a potential hate crime given the racial language documented on video. We'll need witness statements from all passengers, full employee records for the accused, and complete company policy documentation regarding discrimination training and enforcement." Robert Carter stepped forward professionally. "Agent Rodriguez, I'm Assistant Federal Prosecutor Carter. I'll be coordinating federal charges and ensuring this case receives appropriate priority in federal court. Corporate partners abandon ship. Rapidly. Zara's phone buzzed with devastating partner updates. American Express, reviewing corporate travel partnership worth $12 million annually. Delta Hotels, suspending crew accommodation contracts pending investigation. Boeing, requesting reassurance about corporate culture before finalizing $340 million aircraft orders. Chase Bank, corporate credit facilities under review due to reputational risk. The airline industry is built on trust and reputation, Zara announced to the cabin and live stream audiences. One employee's criminal behavior cannot be allowed to destroy the livelihoods of 12,000 honest, hard-working Meridian employees. The systematic destruction of Brittany's future. Agent Rodriguez continued documenting evidence. Mrs. McKenzie, your assault was captured on 17 different recording devices. Federal prosecutors have a 97% conviction rate for assault cases with video evidence this comprehensive. Federal assault convictions carry maximum penalties of 20 years imprisonment and $250,000 in fines. Civil rights violations add additional federal penalties. State assault charges in Georgia carry separate sentencing. Brittany finally broke down completely. Please, Dr. Washington, I have children who depend on me. I'll lose my house, my car, everything. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. Corporate accountability versus personal responsibility. Zara's response was measured but unforgiving. Brittany, you're sorry because you got caught assaulting your CEO on live stream. You're not sorry for the assault itself or the racial profiling or the discrimination. You're sorry about the consequences. Your children will suffer because their mother chose violence and bigotry over professionalism. That's not my responsibility, that's yours. The industry-wide implications emerge. DOT Inspector Mitchell outlined the broader consequences. This incident will trigger mandatory federal review of discrimination training across all major airlines. Congress is already requesting hearings on aviation industry bias and passenger safety. The Department of Transportation will likely implement new federal requirements for crew body cameras, bias reporting systems, and enhanced passenger protection protocols. The economic domino effect. Accelerates real-time updates continued flowing. #boycott Meridian trending in 34 cities across America. Competitor airlines gaining market share in real-time corporate travel managers, removing Meridian from approved vendor lists. International aviation authorities requesting incident reports. Insurance companies calculating liability exposure for similar incidents. Federal prosecution machinery activates. Agent Rodriguez completed her preliminary investigation. Dr. Washington, we have sufficient evidence for immediate federal charges. Mrs. McKenzie will be transported to federal detention for processing and arraignment. The U.S. Attorney's Office will be filing formal charges within 24 hours. Given the video evidence and federal prosecutor witness testimony, we anticipate guilty pleas or swift conviction. The final corporate decision. Zara addressed the cabin full of witnesses and the 89,000 live stream viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, what you witnessed today was not a company failure, it was an individual's choice to commit violence based on racial prejudice. Meridian Airlines will not tolerate discrimination, bias, or violence from any employee at any level. We will implement immediate reforms to ensure this never happens again to any passenger on any flight. But make no mistake, accountability starts with consequences. Some actions cannot be forgiven, only prosecuted. Federal agents escorted Brittany off the aircraft in handcuffs while passengers continued recording. Her mugshot would be public record within hours, forever linking her name to the most expensive slap in aviation history. The corporate crisis was just beginning, but the criminal case was already over. $97 million lost in 18 minutes. One career destroyed forever. One company's reputation hangs in the balance. Real-life stories like this prove that power reveals itself when least expected, and justice sometimes comes with a price tag no one can afford. 48 hours later, the systematic transformation begins. The executive boardroom at Meridian Airlines headquarters buzzed with unprecedented activity. Wall-mounted screens displayed real-time data, stock price recovering to 46.18, social media sentiment improving from 89% negative to 34% negative, and federal investigators completing their preliminary findings. Zara stood before her senior leadership team. The red mark on her cheek now faded, but the impact of that slap reverberated through the entire aviation industry. Immediate consequences, delivered swiftly. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the personnel decisions effective immediately, Zara announced with clinical precision. Brittany McKenzie, terminated and arrested on federal charges, bail set at $50,000, criminal trial scheduled for federal court within 90 days. Personal bankruptcy filing expected within weeks as legal costs mount. Derek Williams, senior flight attendant, suspended without pay for 60 days, mandatory bias training, probationary status for 1 year. His failure to intervene earlier nearly cost him his career. Purser, Janet Morrison, demoted to ground crew, salary reduced 15%, mandatory management retraining. Her delayed response to passenger assault violated federal aviation safety protocols. Airport security supervisor, reprimanded for inadequate response time. New protocols implemented for crew on passenger incidents. Brittany's public destruction. The morning news cycle had been brutal. Brittany's mugshot appeared on CNN, Fox News, and every major network. Her LinkedIn profile disappeared overnight. Her Facebook account deactivated after receiving thousands of angry messages. Local news stations camped outside her apartment building. Her forced public statement, released through her court-appointed attorney, appeared on Meridian's website. I, Brittany McKenzie, accept full responsibility for my criminal assault of Dr. Zara Washington. My actions were inexcusable, racially motivated, and violated everything decent people believe about treating others with respect. I apologize to Dr. Washington, to Meridian Airlines, and to every passenger who witnessed my shameful behavior. Revolutionary, systemic changes implemented. Within 72 hours, Zara had transformed corporate crisis into industry-leading reform. 1. Executive Incognito Program. All C-suite executives now fly monthly in random service classes without advance notice. Mystery evaluations became standard across the industry within 6 months. 2. Zero tolerance policy. Immediate termination for any discriminatory behavior, no exceptions, no appeals. The policy was so comprehensive that it became the template for federal aviation regulations. 3. Real-time accountability technology. The RespectFly mobile app launched within 30 days, allowing passengers to report biased incidents with guaranteed 2-hour response times and automatic $500 credits for verified discrimination. 4. Body camera program. All flight attendants on domestic routes now wear recording devices. The footage is automatically uploaded and reviewed by AI systems that flag potential bias incidents. 5. Independent Oversight Partnership. Monthly audits by the NAACP, Anti-Defamation League, and federal civil rights organizations. Meridian became the first airline with external civil rights monitoring. Financial recovery. Through accountability leadership. The numbers told an extraordinary story of crisis converted to competitive advantage. Stock price recovered to $48.91 within 1 week, higher than pre-incident levels. Customer satisfaction scores jumped to 96%. Industry-leading corporate bookings increased 23% as socially conscious companies chose Meridian. Employee retention improved to 94%, up from 67% industry average. Zero discrimination complaints for 6 consecutive months. Training revolution transforms industry. Meridian's comprehensive bias training program became the gold standard. 40 hours mandatory training for all customer-facing staff. Quarterly refresher courses with testing requirements. Real scenario training using actual incident videos. partnership with leading universities for curriculum development, failure to complete training results in immediate termination. Federal legislation emerges. Congressional hearings on airline discrimination led to the Dignity in Transit Act, requiring mandatory bias training across all transportation industries. Federal oversight of discrimination complaints. Whistleblower protection for employees reporting bias. Standardized passenger bill of rights. Legal framework revolutionized Meridian. Established unprecedented accountability measures. $250,000 victim compensation fund for future discrimination incidents. Class action waivers removed from all employee contracts. Quarterly civil rights compliance reports made public. Automatic federal investigation triggers for any assault allegations. Industry transformation accelerates. The Meridian model spread rapidly across aviation. 7 major airlines implemented identical policies. Within 8 weeks, FAA proposed mandatory bias training. Industry-wide international aviation organizations adopted similar standards. Corporate travel managers began requiring bias training certifications, media recognition, and academic study. Major publications recognized the transformation. Harvard Business Review. The Meridian Model. Crisis Leadership Masterclass. Forbes. How one CEO turned assault into $47 million brand value. Time Magazine. Zara Washington. Transformational Leader of the Year. Federal case study adopted by FBI Training Academy for hate crime investigation. Personal victory becomes professional legacy. Zara's response became required curriculum at Harvard Business School. Crisis Management and Corporate Responsibility. Stanford Graduate School. Leadership under Extreme Pressure. Wharton. Strategic Communication in Corporate Crisis. Federal Law Enforcement Academy. Civil Rights Investigation Best Practices. 6 months later, complete cultural transformation. The results spoke louder than any corporate mission statement. 847 employees completed enhanced training in the first month. Discrimination complaints dropped 82% company-wide. Employee referrals increased 156% as workplace culture improved. Voluntary diversity training requests up 340%. Customer loyalty scores reached all-time highs. Touching stories poured in from passengers who experienced the new Meridian culture. Flight attendants who once might have harbored biases now actively protected passenger dignity. The airline became a symbol of what American corporations could achieve when accountability met leadership. Meridian Airlines won the Corporate Transformation Award from the NAACP. 0 discrimination incidents in 180 consecutive days. The most expensive slap in aviation history had purchased the most comprehensive civil rights reform in corporate America. One moment of violence had created generations of protection for millions of travelers. 1 year later, the legacy of a single moment. Meridian Airlines Headquarters, Atlanta. Annual company meeting. Zara stands before 500 employees, with 365 days of dignity, zero-tolerance success displayed on screens behind her. The numbers tell an extraordinary story of transformation. The remarkable statistics: customer satisfaction, 97%, industry leading. Employee retention, 94%, up from 67%. Stock price, $52.18, all-time high. Discrimination complaints, 0 for 8 consecutive months. The Respect Fly app processed 1,247 passenger reports, resolving 89 potential incidents before escalation. But the real victory extended far beyond one airline. The ripple effect. Across America, federal legislation passed. The Dignity in Transit Act now protects 180 million annual passengers across all transportation industries. 23 major corporations adopted executive incognito programs. International airlines requested consultation on discrimination policies. University business programs mandate study of the Meridian model. Personal growth transforms individual lives. Zara's TED Talk. The Power of Strategic Response reached 4.2 million views. Her Dignity and Travel Foundation provided legal support for discrimination victims across all transportation industries, helping 127 people seek justice in the past year. Brittany's journey toward redemption. After serving 90 days in federal prison and completing court-ordered sensitivity training, Brittany works at a nonprofit focused on racial reconciliation. Her children struggled initially, but community support helped them overcome the shame of their mother's actions. 1 year later, she wrote to Zara, "Dr. Washington, slapping you was the worst and best thing I ever did. Worst because I hurt another human being and traumatized my children. Best because it forced me to confront racism I didn't realize I carried. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just acknowledgement that people can change." Zara's private response. Brittany, accountability and growth can coexist. I'm glad you found your way. The numbers that changed everything. From one moment of violence came federal legislation protecting transportation passengers, corporate policies affecting 2.3 million industry workers, training programs reaching 890,000 aviation employees, technology solutions, protecting millions of annual travelers, values that endured. Intelligence over emotion, strategy over reaction, systemic change over individual revenge, dignity preserved while creating lasting impact for generations. The power of documentation. That slap lasted 1 second. The changes it created will last forever. When someone tries to diminish you, remember, your response determines not just your future, but potentially everyone who comes after you. The aviation industry changed because passengers filmed, shared, and refused to stay silent. Every video, every comment, every share was a vote for dignity. Your voice matters. Have you witnessed discrimination that seemed impossible to address? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience matters, your voice counts, and together we can create accountability everywhere. Black stories like Zara's prove that quiet power overcomes loud prejudice when strategic thinking meets moral courage. These life stories remind us that touching stories of justice often begin with someone's worst moment becoming their greatest opportunity for change. Join the movement. If this real-life story inspired you to believe that one person's strategic response can create massive systemic change, subscribe to Black Tales Stories.